Hello, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist, and this is Radioland, my radio newsletter for August the 3rd, 2025. Time to kiss goodbye in Brisbane. The UK's Radar radio figures came out this week. Matt Deegan has highlighted the serious warning lights flashing, he says, about young listeners. In 20 years, the time spent listening to the radio for those aged 10 to 18 has fallen by almost 50%. Meanwhile, Adam Bowie also crunches the numbers, pointing out that boom radio, targeted at those aged 60 or more, has new record figures. Audiences up 14.5%, and hours up an astonishing 49%. Success with the old, concern with the young, and it's all looking quite hard to attract younger audiences to listen more. Now hold that thought for a second. On Gold 101.7 in Sydney, the breakfast duo Jonesy and Amanda announced that they're moving to afternoon drive, and it doesn't take a genius to guess that this probably means Christian O'Connell's breakfast show on Gold 104.3 in Melbourne will be simulcast into Sydney. O'Connell is a class act. I worked with him in London, and Gold 101.7 already takes an hour of his show, so listeners will be at least partially familiar with what he does. Gold is owned by ARN, which also owns Kiis, which has simulcast Kyle and Jackie O's smutty, advertiser-unfriendly Sydney breakfast show into Melbourne. And while that has failed because of the dire polarising content of Kyle's show, the technology for networking is now tried and tested, and you can see ARN using it again to bring Christian into a new market. But you'll recall that there's a problem with young audiences in the UK, and you would assume that the same is true in Australia, although we don't see time spent listening in the same way here. But what about Brisbane? Well, ARN owns two radio stations here, Kiis 97.3 and River 94.9. River's a full-service station licensed for Ipswich, a city that overlaps Brisbane's transmission area, and it doesn't operate its Gold brand in Brisbane. It used to with 4KQ, but that often number one station was a casualty when ARN bought Grant Broadcasters. Ownership rules limit you here to only two radio stations. On FM then, Brisbane has Nova, Fresh Hits and Throwbacks, with a 10.3% share. B105, Brisbane's number one hit music station, with a 12.2% share. Kiis, Brisbane's number one hit music station, again, 9.3% share. And the ABC's Triple J, the best new music from around Australia and the world, 4.5% share. Younger audiences are deserting radio in terms of time spent listening, yet Brisbane has 4 FMs chasing them, so similar sounding to have the same catchphrase on air. The only real oldies station in Brisbane is owned by 9 Radio, but operated by Ace Radio. It's called 4BH, Brisbane's home of great classic hits, and it operates on an AM frequency so bad that 4BC switched away from it. It's mostly voice-tracked from Melbourne, but with a breakfast show from Brisbane, and it's currently the number 4 station by share. At 10.1%, that's higher than Kiis. Triple M is oldies. It's currently number 1 in this market at 13.3%, but oldies, yes, kind of, but it's all rock and sport and tradies and blokes. There's plenty of space for competition. Older audiences aren't deserting radio. They love 4BH so much that they're willing to tolerate a mostly voice-track station on a bad AM frequency. ARN already owns a similar format and the advertisers, but no outlet in Brisbane for them. Its Kiis station isn't winning, and it's unlikely to, assuming Kyle and Jackie O comes here too. By all accounts, Kyle Sandilands is a notoriously difficult person to manage, and is someone who doesn't listen to direction. He's toxic to advertisers, does a show that unashamedly doesn't welcome in new listeners, and seems not to care about his show being a success. Christian is the polar opposite, someone who wants to succeed, who listens to direction, who works well with advertisers, and is eager for more success in the future. And Kyle's co-host, Jackie O, this week announced her retirement from radio in 2034 at the end of her current deal. It's hard to argue that she cares much either. Well, it's obvious, surely. Surely Gold 97.3 in Brisbane is the obvious choice for a format flip. The opportunities for a more female-friendly oldies station here is clearly obvious. And I'm not the only one to think that. I noticed that Mr. Brisbane has also suggested this in the past. Could you take it one further with networked Christian O'Connell at breakfast? Then mornings with Brisbane's Robin Bailey, who's currently one of Kiis's breakfast team, perfect for the audience. She's been on air here for over 20 years. She's already contracted with the broadcaster anyway, followed by Network Drive. And calling it Gold 97.3 4KQ for the first year at least would be even more astute, remembering that we're predominantly a diary-based market here. There are a lot of people in Brisbane who'd be delighted that 4KQ was back, and it would immeasurably help with marketing. ARN still owns that brand, you'd assume, so it's still valuable. And if the ABC was clever, surely they'd simulcast ABC Radio Brisbane onto FM as soon as they can, as a defensive move. Now, last week I was on BBC Radio 4's feedback programme produced by Whistledown, trying to explain why the BBC has turned off BBC Sounds, and also how you can listen. You'll find the audio if you check out my website at james.cridland.net. I also wrote a blog post about how to listen to BBC Radio overseas, which I will keep updated, and I hope you find it a useful enough guide to reshare. You'll find a link to that in the show notes as well. Here's a fun thing. Echo Radio is a piece of installable software that time delays a radio stream for you so you can listen to a radio station in your own local time, assuming, of course, that the radio station you want to listen to is on the right side of the world and not on the left side of the world, where, of course, now hasn't happened yet. And Triple J ran a hugely successful Hottest 100 of Australian songs a few weekends ago. It was one time when I listened to the radio in the evening, curious as to who was number one. In Excesses never tear you apart, so it turned out. It was simulcast across Triple J, Double J and Triple J Unearthed. Now, personally, I'd have simulcast it across all three stations but branded it Double J rather than Triple J. But it was a surprisingly captivating piece of radio. Game Changers Radio, the podcast, has some numbers in it of how popular it was, which is worth a listen, and a good debate as to whether or not it was a good idea. You can find the full chart by searching for it in your music app of choice. And thank you to Dave Charles of Media Results International for your kind support of this newsletter and my podcast and my work in general. They've got an experienced team over there. The company focuses on format, content development, sales, revenue generation, and Canadian regulatory issues, of course. And it's got experience in Canada, Australia, Malaysia, South Africa and other countries as well. Thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. And the website, in case you're wondering, is mediaresults.ca. Next, I'm speaking at Podcast Movement in Dallas in Texas, August the 18th to the 21st. And thank you to some excellent supporters, including Clyde Broadcast, Broadcast Radio, Meliora, and Radio King for your kind support. If you would like to support my work in any way, you can buy me a coffee, become a member to give regularly, or just give a one-off coffee, or 5. You can do that at buymeacoffee.com/JamesCridland. I'm on Blue Sky as james.crid.land, or on Mastodon as james@bne.social, and my website has more details about who I am, what I do, and whether I can help you further. You'll find that at james.cridland.net. And until next time, keep listening.